Can you share your personal journey of being the black sheep in your family and how it led to you becoming a coach? Okay, so to answer this, it's quite complex and it really goes back to when I was 4. I distinctly remember not feeling like I fit in, a lot missing within my family. And I had a hard time relating with other people or feeling like they related with me. I was always kind of the outlier. And I even kind of looked differently than my siblings. And so that really led to me always feeling like I needed to earn love or I needed to somehow become something more than what I just naturally was. However, when I would go into like the school system or, getting a job, I really excelled and people accepted me just fine. I made friends in society and it really was almost like I was living two different lives. Like within my family, I felt like I always had to earn love. But in society, love came easy. With other people, love came easy. It was easy to be acknowledged. It was easy to be recognized. However, within my family, there was always this kind of energy that felt like I had to work for it. And I don't know how many people out there watching can relate to that, but it really led to some identity crises for me. And up until, I was in my 30s, I just continually tried to earn love from my family. And finally, with the death of my grandfather, everything kind of broke. And all of those family dynamics that I refused to look at really became very apparent. And that's when some of the really harder emotions that I was always trying to run in front of really became apparent. And that's when my black sheep status was no longer deniable. And so that's when I really had a huge crash. My health crashed, everything around me crashed. And I literally went through a dark night of the soul. I, lost all of the familial relationships and things like that. And it really set in those really hard emotions, and that identity crisis became even more profound and more undeniable. So that's when I really started doing the research on, what is happening here energetically. And I came across some really interesting concepts that I do teach in many courses, like pre-birth planning. For a family to do and behave in the way that my family did towards me, there had to have been energetically something deeper. And then I learned about soul contracts, and I learned about all of these emotional regulations and the programming, from the age of conception to 9 years old. And once I started really figuring out these types of things, I began to understand why it was happening, and that it was actually here, this experience of the black sheep, what had found its way to me, because this is what I came here for. This is where my empowerment comes from. This is where my identity actually comes from. If I had had a functional family and I was accepted into that family, I never would have dealt with these deeper emotions that were clearly inside of me. And so through that process, I was able to really become empowered and realize that I can do it on my own. And in fact, I don't have to do it on my own. There are other people outside of my family that I do have contracts with, and I do have pre-birth plans set up with to meet them along the way at a certain time period so that I could become the person that I came here to be. So if you're a black sheep and you're dealing with really strong emotions and really complex family dynamics, I get it. I've gone through it as well, and I'm on the other side of it, and I'm ready to help you through the process.
And then I began coaching. And once I began coaching, I started realizing that it was actually the black sheep that were finding their way to me for coaching. And so that is why I began coaching black sheep, because I realized that this dynamic is way more common than I had originally realized. And the complexity of it is so great that we really do need guides to help us along the way. And I decided that I was going to fill that need and that my experience was not going to be wasted, and that I was going to use my experience and what I had learned along the way to help others. So that is how I became a Black Sheep coach.